My roommate woke me up to tell me an intruder had broke in. But I thought he got killed by an intruder 2 years ago. Submitted by @LukeFlossPop. Hi, I'm Blair Bathory, and this is the Something Scary podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Whether this is your first time or you're one of the brave souls who join us every week. The summer solstice is supposed to be a time to celebrate the light, but sometimes the longest day drags on too long. When the sun won't set and the shadows stretch in fantastical ways, that's when the real darkness creeps in. This isn't just about light fading, it's about the horrors that come when the world holds its breath, waiting for the night that never feels quite right. First, sunlight hides the secrets, followed by hair, fire, and footsteps. Finally, in our last story, trapped beneath. And just a quick reminder to check out our merch store. We've got some scary summer items just in time to hit the beach, the campfire, or wherever you're headed this summer. So go to SomethingScary.com to check out all the spooky merch. And follow us on Spotify or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment and a like. I read all of your comments and I try to respond to as many as I can. We're loving the 2-sentence horror stories, y'all, so keep sending those in. So thank you to all of our listeners from around the world. So, wanna hear something scary? The solstice takes souls. Sometimes, the scariest thing you can summon is yourself. Written by Sarah Lukasiewicz. We only did it for TikTok. Well, that's what we told ourselves when we gathered in the clearing that night. The sky still glowing soft pink long after 10 p.m. It was midsummer in Sweden, when the sun barely sets and the air feels like it's holding its breath. Our friend Liv convinced us to do it. She was half Swedish and spending the summer with her grandmother in Dalarna. So her idea was a real midsummer night with flower crowns, folk songs, and a game that was supposed to reveal your future husband. How could we resist? Liv's grandmother, Mormor, warned us against it. She said in Swedish that rituals are not for play. But Liv just rolled her eyes. She told us her grandmother thinks every tradition is sacred. Ignore her. It's just for fun. There were 5 of us, Liv, me, Jada, Max, and Rowan. We'd met on a backpacking trip and bonded over being broke, bored, and not ready to go home. So when Liv offered us a night in her family's cabin, deep in the woods, with wine and midsummer magic, we said yes. At golden hour, we picked wildflowers and wove crowns, laughing as bugs swarmed and petals fell apart in our fingers. The rule, Liv said, was to pick 9 different flowers from 9 different fields and sleep with them under your pillow. That would show you your soulmate in a dream. But we're making it cooler, she said. There's a stream nearby. Legend says if you walk across it barefoot at midnight, holding your crown, and whisper the name of the one you love, you'll see their reflection in the water. Rowan joked that he doesn't have any name to whisper. Then the stream chooses for you, Liv said, like it was no big deal. That should have been the first red flag. We waited until midnight. The sun had finally dipped below the horizon, but the light never fully left. Just a dim, haunted blue clung to the trees. Liv led us past the cabin, through brambles and trees that seemed to lean in close, whispering with every breeze. The stream wasn't wide, but it was fast, and it ran over jagged stones, cold and dark. I hesitated at the edge. The air smelled like wet moss and something sour. I go first, Liv said, holding her flower crown above her head like a halo. Watch and learn. She stepped barefoot into the stream, flinching at the cold, and walked to the other side. There, she turned, held her crown above the water, and whispered something I couldn't hear. Then she dropped the crown. It floated, then drifted down the stream and out of sight. "Easy," she called. Max went next. He muttered a name, let the crown go, and shrugged when nothing happened. Jada followed, half laughing, pretending to chant like a witch. Rowan was serious. He closed his eyes and held his breath before whispering his secret. Then it was my turn. I didn't have a name to whisper. No one serious. No crush burning a hole in my chest. So I just stepped into the freezing stream, my toes numb instantly, and whispered something silly. "Whoever's meant for me, show me your face." I let the crown go. That's when the wind died, the stream stilled, and the reflection that rose to meet me wasn't mine. She looked at me, but not exactly. Hair longer, face thinner. Eyes all wrong, pale, pupilless, like they'd been scraped clean. I blinked, and she was gone. When I looked up, the others were gone too. The woods didn't look the same anymore, like it was a parallel universe, just slightly off. The shadows were longer, the colors drained. I turned to follow the trail back, but the trees had shifted, closed in. My heart thudded. I called for Liv. A soft laugh answered, not hers. I ran. Branches scraped my arms, roots caught my ankles. I didn't know where I was going, just that I had to move. My breath was ragged. I thought I saw light through the trees and sprinted toward it, and slammed into Rowan. He caught me, his face pale when he asked where I went. "I don't know," I gasped. "The stream, my crown." Liv appeared behind him, eyes wide, saying they'd been looking for me, but I disappeared. "Something's wrong," I said. "We should go back, now." We didn't talk as we walked. We just moved fast. The path felt bumpy underfoot, but eventually we saw the cabin, its lights on, windows glowing like eyes. Inside, Mormor, her grandmother, was waiting. Her face went white when she saw us. "What?" Liv asked. "Who did you wake?" she hissed with fear. She made us sit, forced salt into our hands, and whispered prayers under her breath. She threw our crowns into the fire one by one, watching the smoke like it could tell her something. When it was my turn, the flames went blue. She stood abruptly. "It followed you." You called without knowing who you were speaking to. The stream listens, the crown chooses, and you, she looked at me, then Liv, you made a mockery of it. Outside, something scraped across the roof. We all froze. A shadow moved past the window, fast, slithering. Mormor grabbed a jar of ash and smeared a line on the door. "Do not let it in, no matter what it says." "What is it?" Jada whispered. Mormor's voice dropped. "Not a lover, not a dream. A reflection that wants to replace the one who asked." My blood ran cold. That night, no one slept. We heard it pacing, whispering in different voices. Sometimes it sounded like me, sometimes like Liv. Once, it used my mother's voice. At dawn, it was gone. We never saw it leave. My crown never turned up. Neither did the one I dropped in the stream. We left that day. Liv stayed behind to help Mormor cleanse the land, but she didn't message us again. Rowan sent me a photo a week later. It was from a small town police page. A girl's body had been found by the stream, bloated and pale, drowned. No ID. But I knew the face. It was mine. Have you ever done a ritual just for fun? What would you do if someone or something was pretending to be you? Hi, witches. I just wanted to give you a couple of quick horror movie recommendations this week. If you didn't know, Sinners is now on VOD. If you haven't watched this film yet, please go watch Sinners. It's probably going to be the best film of the year. Bringing Her Back is a terrifying, dark, very disturbing film by the same directors that did Talk to Me. There, almost forgot it. And then also Dangerous Animals is coming out soon. I saw this when I was at the Cannes Film Festival. This might be the best killer shark movie since Jaws. I know, that's a big statement, but if you get a chance, go see Dangerous Animals on the big screen. This is by the same director that did The Loved Ones. He's an Australian director. And it's really fun. It's such a fun movie and truly some of the best shark scenes since, I would say, Deep Blue Sea. And if you didn't know, Rennie Harlan, who directed Deep Blue Sea, was interviewed during the Seance, which was the show that I did for the Cannes Film Festival. My co-collaborator, Alex Moyer, interviewed him. So if you want to hear more about that director, you can go to Fangoria on YouTube. And then also, very soon, I will be announcing the premiere of my film that I talked about last week a little bit, but I can't wait to share more and talk about all the people involved in that. I've been waiting to screen this movie for years. It really takes that long to make a movie, y'all. It's really crazy. I hope at some point I get to share more of the behind the scenes and, again, all the people involved. And hopefully this year I'm going to be making my first feature film. I've been working on that my whole life. So we're really crossing our fingers to have some of these projects come through. But let me know in the comments some of your favorite horror movies. And if you like me talking about horror movies or giving you recommendations, you can also see a lot of lists I make themed a lot of different things on my letterbox, which is just under my name, Blair Bathory. I think that's all for now. Again, I want to start talking to y'all a lot more, just, one-on-one. I love telling you the stories, but I don't think I've ever really told you a whole lot about myself. It's really easy for me to talk forever about horror movies, but let me know what you want to know about me, or if you have questions. I can do a Q&A next week. Just let me know. Until then, sweet screens. Sometimes spirits are there to protect you. Others just pretend. Like in this story inspired by Sasha and Veronica. In Russia, people say every family has a domovoi. He's the guardian of the house, the spirit who watches over you, protects you from misfortune, and warns you when something is wrong. But there are some houses where the domovoi is not kind. Some say it isn't even a domovoi at all. It's just something that pretends to be. This is a story about our mother and how everything began before we were born. She was pregnant with us when she moved into that apartment with our father. It was an ugly place, gray and square like all the others, near the railway and facing a field full of trash and rusted playgrounds. The people who lived there before had an old relative who died alone in the back room. They didn't talk about it much, just left quickly. Mama didn't have a choice. It was what they could afford. Our father was already distant by then. The pregnancy made him colder. Like the responsibility didn't just sit right in his bones. He traveled for work, or said he did, but mostly he stopped answering Mama's calls. When he was home, he barely looked at her. She was just 25, alone and expecting twins. No job, no help, and stuck in a place that didn't feel like home. The apartment was always cold, even in summer. The windows sweated and dripped without rain. Rex, Mama's German Shepherd puppy, whined constantly and refused to go near the hallway. The thought he was just young, but now we know better. She tried to be respectful when she moved in. She knew about the domovoi. She poured milk into a saucer and placed it in the kitchen corner. She even left hard candy on a napkin beside it. But when she came back in the morning, the saucer was tipped over and the candy crushed to powder. She did it again. The next night, she woke up to the sound of the glass shattering. Then the plates started to fall, one at a time, always in the middle of the night. She would lie still on the couch, her body heavy with pregnancy, listening as the cabinet doors creaked open on their own. One plate, then another. Then silence until the tiny, unmistakable sound of bare feet slapping across the linoleum. Not running, not stomping, just a soft, slow pat-pat like a small child walking without shoes. But there was no child in the house. Not yet. The footsteps would come closer to her room, stop in the doorway, wait, then disappear. She told herself it was the pipes, the wind, her imagination. But the towels, those couldn't be explained. She'd find them in the morning torn into long, precise strips like ribbons, not chewed, not clawed. Torn as if someone had taken a knife and made their mane. Once, she found one braid wrapped around the base of the faucet like a warning. It was around this time that she began dreaming of fire. It was always the same, a massive bonfire in a clearing surrounded by trees. Women in white linen danced barefoot in a circle. Their hair was long and tangled with wildflowers, and they sang in voices Mama couldn't quite understand. She would see herself watching them from the shadows, belly swollen, arms wrapped tight around it, and always, something watching from the trees behind her. Not a person, not even an animal, just eyes. Too many of them. When she looked in the mirror in the mornings, her face looked grayer. Her hair, long, black, beautiful, felt heavy, tangled at the ends as if someone had been pulling it. And then the worst part began, the strangling. She would fall asleep for a short nap in the afternoon and wake up completely frozen. A pressure sat on her chest, like a heavy cat, but colder, heavier. And then the tugging began. Something would pull her hair until her head dropped backward off the side of the couch, leaving her eyes staring into nothing. Her throat exposed. She couldn't scream. She couldn't move. Rex would bark, but from the distance, like even he couldn't come close. It only let go when she started to cry. Salty tears ran into her hair, and only then did the pressure lift. Around this time, it was almost Ivan Kapala's night, near the summer solstice. She remembered her grandmother saying that this is when the veil between worlds is weakest. People used to jump over bonfires and look for fern flowers that bloom only once, that night. But they also said that the domovoi and all house spirits get restless, especially in homes where death had visited. Mama called her sister, our Aunt Lubia. Aunt Lubia told her to leave a piece of her hair in each corner of the house. Let it know you're not afraid, she said, or it will keep testing you. Mama didn't want to do it, but she was desperate. She cut 4 small locks from her hair, tied them with thread, and placed them in the corners of each room. That night, she woke up to find every strand of hair on her head twisted around the bed frame, tied in little loops. She screamed so loud the neighbors called the building guard. But when he came in, everything was back to normal. The windows closed, the saucer untouched. She spent weeks in the hospital away from that place, recovering. When we finally returned, we were tiny and wrapped like dumplings. Our father left us that week. He said he couldn't take the pressure. Maybe he couldn't take the house. We only stayed a month more before our grandparents came to take us all away. That apartment, it's still there. People move in and people move out, but always fast. No one stays long. They say the hallway smells like scorched wood, even in winter. And sometimes, late at night, neighbors hear the sound of tiny barefoot footsteps on the stairs, followed by the sharp, whispering rustle of torn fabric. Some say it was a domovoi who didn't accept us. Others think it was something older, something that doesn't like twins. Mama keeps her hair short now, and she never sleeps on the couch. Have you ever lived somewhere that felt haunted? Do you believe some spirits can latch onto places and families? It's time for something from our listeners, and this week I wanted to share an email from Noam. Last summer, my father took my family to Israel on a business trip. It was quite boring, so I started working at a small school in the area where we used to live. I had to come to that creepy school every Sunday in the evening to clean up a small corner with animals in it. I was pretty happy about my job and didn't really pay attention to the strange things that were happening. When I sat down to rest, I noticed that the door was closing and opening on its own. But I just assumed that was the wind. I also started hearing knocks on the windows, but I thought those were the trees. Also, the behavior of the rabbits and the hamsters started to be weird. Suddenly, they started jumping, hiding, and looking behind me. But at that time, I didn't really pay attention to it. So one day, after I finished cleaning, I got out of the school and closed the gate behind me. The small room was near the fence outside the school, and when I got near the room, I started hearing whispers calling someone and loud knocks. I got goosebumps, but kept walking. I thought that was just my imagination. I climbed up a closed hill and looked down at the school. Everything looked normal except when I looked at the room with the animals, I saw a little girl with long black hair and a white dress waving at me, nodding her head from side to side. I immediately ran to my house and locked the doors. A couple of days passed, and I forgot about the girl. Until one night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I heard knocks on the windows and just turned to the other side of the bed, looking at my wall. I closed my eyes, and after 30 seconds, I heard a little girl's voice whispering and calling someone. "Thank you, Noam. That was super creepy. Has the girl come back again? Let us know." Sometimes, the things we're warned not to follow are exactly the things that find us, like in this story inspired by Esha, based on an Italian urban legend. Thunder tore across the sky, ripping through the heavy silence that clung to Montebello Castle like a shroud. The ancient stone fortress, perched atop a jagged hill, seemed to hold its breath beneath the storm's fury. Inside the cold, damp walls, the thunder's roar was muffled, but no less menacing. The storm's wrath seeped into every shadow, every crevice, whispering of old secrets best left undisturbed. In the dim, flickering light of the great hall, a pale little girl sat on the cold stone floor, her skin almost translucent, ghostly white, like fragile porcelain. Her hair was the color of storm clouds, tangled softly around her thin shoulders. Her blue eyes, unnervingly bright and clear like the midsummer sky, watched a rag ball slit from her small fingers. The fabric ball was worn and stained, its faded blue threads woven from rare herbs said to have strange old magic. The ball began to roll slowly, unnaturally, across the cold stone floor, then toward the dark stairs leading down to the basement. It moved as if it pulled by an unseen hand, gliding against all logic and reason. The guards standing watch nearby stiffened, their breath hitching in their throats. Neither moved. It was an unspoken rule, never follow her to the cellar. The stories whispered through the castle's long, bitter history had warned them all too well. The ball stopped at the first step. As Turina's tiny foot hovered, hesitant, trembling slightly, she reached out, fingers brushing the worn fabric, but the ball slipped away, bouncing once, twice, and then rolled deeper, disappearing into the yawning darkness below. Outside, the storm seemed to fade, replaced by a low, dreadful whispering creeping through the halls, soft, faint, almost like a child's voice calling in the dark. As Turina's blue eyes flicked toward the basement door, her face pale but calm, almost knowing as if she understood what awaited her. With slow, deliberate steps, she moved forward. The heavy, wooden door groaned, shut behind her, and then silence. The two guards waited, nerves twisting tighter with every agonizing minute. One swore he saw a shadow flicker near the bottom of the stairs. Something wrong, something that didn't belong. A breath, colder than the night air, brushed against his neck, prickling his skin like a warning. But they said nothing. They dared not break the silence. Minutes passed like hours. Then, a scream shattered the stillness. A cry so raw, so filled with terror and despair, it seemed to freeze the blood in their veins and echo off the cold stone walls. They rushed to the basement floor, hands trembling as they threw it open. The darkness inside swallowed them whole. There was no sign of the girl, no rag ball, only the choking stench of damp earth and something far older, something rotten and wrong. The cellar was empty. Days later, the war-weary king returned from battle. His armor was dented and scratched, his face marked by grief and exhaustion deeper than any wound. When he learned what had happened to his daughter, rage twisted his features into a mask of fury and despair. Blaming the guards of their failure to protect her, he executed them both in a blind, brutal fury, their blood staining the stone floors of Montebello, an unholy sacrifice to his shattered heart. But his anger could not bring her back. Years passed, and the castle grew darker, its stone walls seeming to absorb the sorrow like a living thing. The silence thickened, heavy and suffocating, growing heavier with each passing summer. But every summer solstice, on the longest, brightest day of the year, something awakens in Montebello. Locals whisper. If you listen closely as the sun dips below the horizon, you'll hear the faint cries of a child, carried on the wind, a high, broken wail that chills the bones. Some say the rag ball still appears, rolling silently down the castle stairs as if searching for something or someone. Paranormal investigators have come and gone, drawn by the legend and the promise of proof. Many have recorded strange voices, whispers of trembling childs calling mother, on tapes that play back distorted and warped, as if from some other realm. Mediums report feeling a presence, neither alive nor dead, trapped between worlds, endlessly searching. One researcher, a skeptic through and through, recorded a voice that whispered a single, chilling word, "Stay," before fleeing the castle the very next day, never to return. But the truth is still darker. Long before Azarina's disappearance, the family had made a terrible pact with something ancient, a demon bound deep beneath the castle's foundations by blood and sacrifice. The rag ball, dyed with rare blue herbs, was never a toy. It was a key. The basement was no ordinary cellar. It was a prison. And the demon demands a soul every 5 years taken on the summer solstice, the price for the family's cursed protection. The two guards knew this. They did not know Azarina's down the stairs because the cellar was a trap, because no one who entered the darkness ever returned. Locals whispers of families who hear a soft knock on their doors each solstice night, of children who vanish without a trace, no screams, no signs of struggle, only silence, and sometimes a faint sound like a rag ball rolling down stone stairs. The final, darkest secret, the voice calling, "Mother," is not always the child's. Some say the demon mimics Azarina's voice, luring the living to their doom. Those who follow the ball or answer the whispers never return. And the ball itself, the cursed key, sometimes bleeds a faint blue liquid when held too long, a warning ignored at your own peril. And if you ever find yourself near Montebello on a summer solstice and you hear a rag ball rolling behind you, do not look back. Do not follow, and whatever you do, do not answer when it calls for mother. Because some legends are true, and some spirits are far worse than lost. And sometimes, when the castle shadows grow long, I swear I hear the ball rolling behind me. What would you do if you heard a child's cries in an abandoned castle on the longest day of the year? Would you follow it? Or do you know better from listening to this story? This week's podcast stories were edited by Sarah Lukasiewicz, narration by Blair Bathory, audio edited and mixed by Fitz Harris, additional audio editing by Calvin Linderman, produced by Anna Villalobos, executive produced by Gail Gilman, music by Sapphire Sindalo and Calvin Linderman. If you have a story you'd like to submit, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Don't forget to watch the video version of Something Scary over at youtube.com/snarled. And if you'd like to support the show and everything we do at Snarled, join our Patreon at patreon.com/snarled.